Commander Jacrel of the Valorian Empire had seen many things in his 3 decades of military service, but he had never seen a human teaching xenobiology to bored cadets in a backwater academy. Martinez, Elena, present. The voice was flat, disinterested as Professor Martinez marked her attendance roster without looking up. Jacrel observed from the back of the lecture hall, his 4 eyes tracking the unremarkable human female as she droned through a presentation on Krillian lung structures. She was small by human standards, perhaps 50 of their years old, with gray streaking through her dark hair. She wore the standard academy instructor's uniform, slightly wrinkled. Nothing about her suggested anything exceptional. Yet the file in Jacrel's datapad told a different story entirely. Elena Martinez, the ghost of Proxima, the woman who had single-handedly held the Castor Pass against a full Zenthari battalion for 72 hours. The human who had infiltrated the dreadnought Infinite Despair and sabotaged its core, changing the tide of the entire war. 347 confirmed kills in close combat. Recipient of the Terran Cross of Valor, the highest military honor humanity could bestow. Now she was explaining with visible tedium why Krillian respiratory systems couldn't process methane atmospheres. Ridiculous, Jacrel muttered. The Academy's headmaster had insisted that Martinez was their xenobiology instructor. Nothing more. But Jacrel knew better. He had come here with a purpose, though explaining it to this teacher would be complicated. The lecture ended. Cadets filed out, most of them already absorbed in their data pads, having learned nothing. Martinez began erasing the holographic displays with mechanical precision. Professor Martinez? Jacrel approached, his combat armor clicking softly. She glanced up, and for just a fraction of a second, Jacrel saw it. The instant tactical assessment, the calculation of threat level, the automatic identification of his weapon placements and armor weak points. Then it was gone, buried beneath a polite, tired smile. Commander, if this is about Cadet Telvar's grades, I'm afraid they're non-negotiable. He simply doesn't do the work. It's not about grades. Jacrel displayed his credentials. I need the ghost of Proxima. The smile vanished. That person doesn't exist anymore. She's been dead for 15 years, buried under committee meetings and research papers. Try the Veterans Office. The Zenthari have returned. Martinez's hand, halfway to closing her datapad, froze. That's impossible. We pushed them back through the Kelvin rift. The diplomatic accords were signed under false pretenses. They've been building, breeding, planning. Jacrel pulled up holographic images of the new threat. 3 colony worlds have gone dark in the past month. When we sent scouts, we found the same signature tactics. The same tactics you fought at Proxima. Martinez stared at the images, her jaw tightening. Then send the military. Send the fleet. Send anyone but a retired instructor who can barely remember which end of a plasma rifle gets hot. We are sending the fleet, but we need someone who knows how they think, how they move, how they can be beaten when all logic says they can't be. Jacrel's voice dropped. The cadets at Proxima, the ones you saved, they became officers, generals. One of them is my tactical advisor. She told me that you didn't survive that battle through luck or superior firepower. You survived because you understood them better than they understood themselves. I was younger then, faster, but no less intelligent, no less tactical. Martinez looked at the holographic images for a long moment. The Zenthari warriors, insectoid nightmares with reflexes that put most species to shame. She had killed so many of them, watched friends die to them, bled into alien soil fighting them. She had promised herself never again. I have a class in 20 minutes, she said finally. The transport leaves in 1 hour. Commander? The building shook. Emergency alarms screamed to life. Through the windows, Martinez saw it. A Zenthari dropship, scarred and burning but still functional, descending directly toward the Academy grounds. Either they had tracked Jacrel here, or this was part of a larger assault. The professor's eyes went cold and clear. Get the cadets to the shelters. South corridor, reinforced walls. But the protocol says... The protocol was written by people who've never fought Zenthari. Martinez was already moving, pulling a lockbox from beneath her desk. Inside was a well-maintained combat knife and a small plasma sidearm, both looking incongruous next to graded papers. They'll cut through the East Wing in 3 minutes to draw defenders, then hit the West Wing where the real targets are. You and your officers. South corridor now. Jacrel found himself obeying without question. There was something in her voice, in the way she moved now. Fluid, purposeful, like a machine built for war that had just been reactivated. The Zenthari came through the walls exactly as she predicted. What happened next would become the subject of Academy legend for generations. Professor Martinez, armed with little more than a knife and a pistol, moving through the corridors like smoke and shadow. Every movement was economical, every shot perfectly placed. She knew where they would be before they arrived, knew their patterns, their preferences, their weakness. She was the ghost of Proxima again. When the reinforcements arrived, 12 minutes later, they found 7 dead Zenthari warriors and a professor sitting on the floor, bleeding from a dozen minor wounds, calmly applying field dressings while cadets stared at her in stunned silence. "So," she said to Jakrell, "about that transport. It can wait until medical." "No." She stood, wincing slightly. "You were right. If they're back, then sitting here grading papers isn't going to stop them." She looked at the faces of her students, young beings from a dozen species who had only known peace. "Someone needs to make sure this generation never has to become legends like I did." Jakrell nodded slowly. "The ship leaves in 1 hour. Make it 45 minutes. I need to cancel my classes." As she walked out, one of the cadets whispered to another, "Who is she?" An older student, one whose parents had served at Proxima, answered with quiet reverence, "A legend. And legends don't stay buried when they're needed." Professor Elena Martinez, third period xenobiology instructor, attendance sheet marker, and grader of papers, walked out of the academy. The ghost of Proxima walked to war. Word count 187.